Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 10770. This is the Buzz and Woody's Carnival Mania, containing 230 pieces and retailing for $49.99 in the United States. This is the largest of sets based off of the Toy Story 4 movie, and it does contain the largest selection of figures, of which 2 are exclusive characters and 1 has an exclusive facial print. And then the other 2 do appear just in other sets. But as this is a junior set, every decorated piece you see is printed. So in addition to the exclusive stuff with the figures, there are other exclusive designs that are featured in the set. But the set is, based on a carnival. It has a lot of smaller pieces, and they all come together to kind of create one scene. So we're going to take a look at each section separately. The set is separated into 4 bags for 4 major parts of the set, and first up we build the biggest section, which contains the parts from bag 1 plus several of the really large parts that don't get put in bags. And this is basically a carnival shooting game where you're gonna shoot something with this actually functioning cannon, or sort of functioning cannon, spring-loaded on the inside. You just pull this back and let go to shoot, and you can angle it up and down. It's not on like a hinged base that swivels around, but you can just turn it manually yourself. It works okay for that. And basically you just load it with one of these cylinders, which they supply 6 of in one of these yellow crates. And these yellow crates aren't the most common color for that piece, so it's nice to get it here. And it's definitely nice and bright and colorful and fits in with the carnival vibe. You can kind of just shove it there or put it in the back. You can attach it down with some studs here, if you want to be able to hold on to that pretty well. But you just pull this back and you shoot, and you'll knock over all these, and you can just shoot them all down with cannons. And Buzz is the figure that gets placed here, regardless of whether or not it's accurate to the movie. And, there's really nothing going on back here at all. And it doesn't tell you to put this here specifically. So, the way it's built in the instructions is very plain. There's really nothing going on back here. It just has enough space, basically, to allow this to flop all the way backwards so that you can't see it from the front. But, to reset it, you just push it back upwards, and it'll just rest here on the edge of this panel piece. This is a decently complex feature for a junior set, and it works pretty well. And as far as excluding this, which can be removed because it's only attached by these 4 studs, if you wanted to just have this background, this is a pretty nice large printed piece. It's got the carnival prizes up there. It would have been nice if there was a way for you to attach Ducky and Bunny so they'd be hanging there like they are in the movie. Which that's not a spoiler, that's in the teaser trailers and everything. And, if you didn't want to know that, then you probably shouldn't have watched a Toy Story 4 merchandise-related video. The top section here is basically occupied by the 6 by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so 6 by 12 modified plate with no studs in the center area, and you get this really, really great print. This is awesome, and honestly, this is a big draw of the set for me. In addition to the figures, this is probably the coolest thing. And, it's attached very simply, but this is a relatively recognizable location from the movie, relatively recognizable sign, and it's cool to get. And around the back there's absolutely nothing at all, but I think that this is probably the coolest buildable element of this set, especially thanks to the printed pieces. And these are also exclusive printed pieces. They're just the those little sign pieces that just attach via clip on the back. But yeah, I think that this is probably the best buildable element that you get out of the entire set. So then, I guess it's only fair that bag 2 gives us the least interesting element in the set. It's basically these 2 bumper cars, and there's really no bumper car zone arena to mess around with them. But the one thing that's interesting about these is that they have these antennae on the back, and you can kind of use that antenna to push them around, so you're not really controlling the car. It kind of makes it feel a little bit remote operated, which I suppose is cool, but you know, it's just a little buildable bumper car. Super simple. It's got the Mighty Micros base and the Mighty Micros top section, and your figure just sits down there as a steering wheel. You know, they don't even fill in that space right there. It looks okay, but that's it, really. And there's no exclusive prints, nothing super special about these at all. I guess, you know, adds a little bit of playability with the, you know, ability to send two of your figures kind of bumping each other. But that's really all we got here. Bag 3 builds up this little ice cream shop, and it's a pretty simple little build, but it looks fine. Doesn't look super juniorized, aside from the large plate here, which is a pretty junior specific part. But I mean, other than that, it looks okay. You got these 2 seats here, which I didn't realize that you could sit a figure down if, you know, there's 2 studs on the front and then a panel in the back. I didn't realize that would actually work, but it does. So I guess this set taught me something new. But you know, other than that, the seats are very simple, and the table is very simple. You have an ice cream in a glass there. You got the counter back here, which is a little bit low for regular sized figures. Like, it's below her waist, which, you know, that's not really super accurate height wise, so maybe it would have been nice if they raised the height of the counter by just a little bit. But you do have a printed cash register down here, as well as a little bucket here with a spoon inside, which is a cool piece to get, and you do actually get an extra of that in the set. And then, you know, you got, like, this would be a display counter, I guess, showing chocolate and, I don't know, some other flavor of ice cream. It's green. And, you know, it's a very simple build, but we do get this cool ice cream cone assembly up on the top, which is made of the new pieces from the ice cream cone guy from Unikitty's Sweetest Friends from the Lego Movie 2. So you got that inverted cone as well as this 3x3 dome, and then some cherries just stuck at the top, which works really well, actually. And you do have these other 2 ice cream cones, which you could take down and put these in a figure's hands so that your figure can eat an ice cream cone. You know, that's an option, but they're meant to be there as part of a sign. And speaking of signs, we have this cool printed panel. This is like one of those 1x2 panels, except a 2x4 version. I haven't seen many of that part, and I mean, to be fair, you don't really need to have a 1x4 version, aside for instances like this where you want it printed and you don't want the line down the center. So, you know, this is a good use of this part. I don't know how common that piece is, but, you know, it's cool to get it here again. The one thing that does do is create a little bit of a gap here, but that's barely noticeable unless you're looking at it straight on from the side. And last but not least, we have this octopus-looking ride, and this is probably the second most recognizable scene from the film. If you've seen the movie, it's probably the second most recognizable of these builds. It's reasonably decent looking. This one I think looks a little bit more simplified, as a lot of it relies on the building techniques, which for junior sets have to be very, like, oversimplified, versus, you know, the prints that are used in the Star Adventurer game, which are a little bit, like, the printing isn't specifically juniorized, it's just that they're on large pieces. So, I don't know, I mean, this looks okay for what it is, I think, and you can stick figures in any of the little cars, which they can move up and down. They don't move up and down on their own. You have to kind of move them up and down. But you can change the angles of all of the sections. I like having the 2 on opposite sides being at the same height. I think that looks good, but, you know, after you do that, you can just spin them around. And for Ducky and Bunny, who are included in this bag, you can just stand them on the 2 studs up front. It also uses the same panel technique, where you have the 2 studs and then the panel in the back, and that's how your figures get to sit. And I like how they have these 1x4 tiles, which, that's an interesting color for those. I don't know how common that is, but, you know, it's cool to get a bunch of, because you get, like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of those, or 12 of those. And, you know, so if you're looking for those, this is a decent set to get. As well as this kind of dome canopy in purple with printing on there. That's exclusive to the set. And you get 2 of them. They're just identical front and back. And if you wanted to, you could hinge that open. I don't know, maybe toss a figure inside as a trap. This is some Space Ranger Zerg thing. I don't know, that eats toys. Interesting play opportunities there, but it's really not an intended feature. It's just intended to lock together and create that. And it does kind of want to bend itself open a little bit, just it doesn't create a perfect seal all the time, just due to the nature of these parts and how they aren't. There's a little bit of play in the joints, but as far as spinning around, it spins really well and really smoothly. It's just on a Technic pin. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent little build. I think it's probably the second best part of the set, but I do think that Star Adventure is still a better looking model. First up for figures, we'll take a look at the two that are not exclusive to this set, and that is Buzz and Bo Peep. And Buzz is very similar in design, intent at least, to the 2016 collectible minifigure version. However, the skin tone on his face is printed a whole lot less opaque than it was back in 2016. And, you know, as a result, it kind of is a little bit lacking. But I do think that, you know, it's not the worst example of that, but it's not great either. And I do wish that it was a little bit better. But at least we do have the 2016 one, if you got that. So you could just use that instead. The printing on this armor piece is slightly updated, actually. Just a little logo in the center is a little bit more detailed, which is cool. The wings are exactly the same as before, and same helmet piece. I'm not going to go through taking this whole thing apart in front of you, because it'll just take too long. And the legs are printed pretty well. They look fine. There's a little bit of printing on the torso, you know, and the armor piece looks fine from the back. As far as Bo Peep, she has this cape which just has a single hole, so it kind of wants to off-center itself sometimes. But she does have a new hair mold which has this bow there, and it's done in yellow, which I don't know if yellow is the best color. I think maybe it should be somewhere between yellow and tan. I don't know if tan would have been a better color. Face print is pretty good, and she does have some decent torso printing, a little bit of leg printing. There's a little bit more than I was expecting. I didn't realize that there were those subtle blue lines there, but there's also the foot printing, as well as she has a new mold for her staff cane thing. And if we, you know, take off Buzz's armor, we can see, well, A, it looks a little bit weird now, but B, they also added in the additional printing that's obscured by the armor piece, which they did not do on the Disney CMF version, but that existed back on the original Toy Story theme version of Buzz. So it's interesting to see that back and how they flip between the two. He doesn't have arm printing like the Disney CMF version, which is a little bit of a shame. But, you know, the back torso printing on both of these is a little bit simple, but again, there's a little bit that would have been obscured by the armor piece. And the alternate facial expression for Bo is fine. No alternate face for Buzz, because obviously it would be able to be seen through the glass of his helmet. And here we have Ducky and Bunny, and both of these figures are really well done. They're both exclusive characters to this set. They were great in the movie, so I'm glad to have them in LEGO form. I do think that, you know, there's one thing about these which is a little bit unfortunate. That's that they aren't attached to each other. The best representation of that you can get is to put Ducky in Bunny's hand. But in the movie, they're like two Carnival toys which are stitched together and they're like permanently attached. I do think that, you know, the mold for Ducky is really good, and the printing for his eyes on there is pretty well done. He does appear to be dual molded, with the orange for the feet and the yellow for the body, and I believe the orange pokes out for the beak as well, so you won't have any printing issues there. And that's just a great looking piece. Again, I think it would have been really cool if they could have made one of his, like this wing up in like a high-fiving position with a bar size attachment at the end, so that you could, you know, have Bucky or Bunny hold on to it. But I mean, I think that it's decent the way it is, and this does obviously allow for a little bit, well, having them separate allows for a little bit more possibilities there, and I guess they could hypothetically reuse this for another kind of duck-looking character in the future if they really wanted to. I doubt they will, but they could. And Bunny is pretty cool. I like the dark azure color for him. The printing for the green on there is pretty well done, and I love the new head mold. This is the only specialized headpiece that we get in the Toy Story 4 sets, and it's obviously because it's supposed to look like a bunny, and this is the only version of a character that looks like this sort of bunny that we've gotten. The printing on there is really, really good, and you got even a little bit of printing in there for the ears. I don't think his headpiece is dual molded, but could be. Yes, it is. Okay. Alright, I didn't pay close enough attention to when I assembled him the first time, I guess. But his head is also really, really, like, tight. It's a little bit hard to get on there. But he does have a little bit of back printing on there, which just shows the tag in his little tail. And last but not least, we have Woody. And this is actually an exclusive version of Woody. The front facial expression here is pretty nice, decent smile. This is the other version of his face, which appears in both of the smaller sets featuring Woody, the $20 Duke Kaboom set and the $10 RC set. Other than that, the torso and legs are the same as that version. And they look really good. I like this version of Woody a lot better than the original 2010 versions of Woody. The hat and hair combo piece is really, really, really well done, and I love how that came out. And his alternate facial expression is one of, I don't know, a little bit worried or shocked or something, whereas this is the other alternate facial expression and the other two versions, or the other two figures of Woody. And yeah, I think that this came out really well. Minor spoiler alert, warning, okay. Skip the video about 10 seconds ahead if you haven't seen the movie yet. I do wish, here's a spoiler, that it would have been cool if they removed the pull string from the back. But, I mean, I understand why they didn't do that for spoiler reasons. And, you know, I mean, it's more desirable, I think, to just have this version of Woody with the pull string there. But, yeah, I do think that this is a good figure, and nice to get, and I appreciate that they gave us an alternate facial expression. Overall, I think this set has a decent amount of playability here. I think that, you know, for kids who are 4 and up, they'll find some of this stuff fun, and nice to play with. I do think that this build is legitimately good. I think that overall, you know, I will probably keep this part assembled at the very least. So I don't know, I just think it looks nice, and the play feature with the cannon and ability to shoot stuff, I think that works pretty decently well. Yeah, and the prints here are really nice. The ice cream shop is fine. It really doesn't appear in the movie, so it has no significance really, but it helps to kind of fill up this little carnival scene. And to fill up this carnival scene even more, you could get the $20 Carnival Thrill Coaster, which is very thrilling because it has no drops at all and it just goes in a circle. But I guess it's technically an oval. But yeah, I think these bumper cars are kind of a waste of space. They don't really do much. They don't really, I don't know, they don't really look good if they don't have a bumper car arena to work in. The octopus is fine. But I think, again, the big highlight of the set are the figures. Ducky and Bunny are great. Alternate facial expression for Woody is alright, you know, it's not a huge draw, but it works. And Bo Peep is nice to get if you're not going to get the smaller Playground set. And Buzz is kind of a weak spot here, because the Buzz figure is not that great with that facial expression printing issue. I think that if that wasn't an issue, yeah, he'd be perfectly fine. He'd be a good Buzz. It'd be nice to get an alternate expression for him. But I don't know, the way it is kind of lame, because it just doesn't look good. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I do think that, you know, $50 might be a little steep. Yeah, probably is a little steep, I think, compared to the $50 Cars 3 set with Mac and Jackson Storm and, you know, all the others. I think that, while the builds were probably I don't know. I think that I was going to say, well, the builds are less finished, but I guess the really only less finished build in that one is the top roof of Mac, which is not that hard to cover up. So I don't know, I think I might have to give the points to that set as far as being a better $50 Pixar Junior set. Because that one even had all of the Cars characters that were in there were exclusive except for Guido. And this one only has the Ducky and Bunny. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess I've come to the conclusion that Florida 500 Final Race is a better set than this, but I don't think this one's terrible. I think if you can get it on sale, especially if you can get it for the price that I got it for, which at $20, I'm not complaining at all. But I do think if I spent $40, I would still feel a little bit a little bit disappointed. But, you know, regardless, for the price I paid, I think that this is a really good set. And, you know, has a lot of nice elements that come together to make a decent scene. And if I do get the Carnival coaster, I will probably show that incorporated here at some point. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little review. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.